On this episode, our first non-Dodge Mopar. Welcome back to Your Par. That's right, we're breaking the door down. We've got a different brand car besides a Dodge on the show for the first time, and I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm hoping that opens the opportunity for some of you other guys and gals that have some of those other brand Mopars that come and jump on. Remember on the first episode I said Jeep, AMC, Willys, DeSoto, Plymouth. As long as it was a Mopar, it was welcome, and this guest took me up on that. So Brad, what you bring out?
This is a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner convertible.
And what's our drivetrain?
It's got a 383 Magnum with a 4-speed transmission and an 8 3/4 rear end with a 355 gear.
Okay, and so 68 and 69s, they're pretty similar from the side profile, but one of the easiest ways to tell the difference is, well, it doesn't have a roof, right?
Right.
So 68 were all hardtop, 69 was the first year of the convertible?
First year of two. They made the convertibles in 69 and 70, and in 69 there were 2,128 of them made.
Okay, so it's a pretty rare bird then.
Yeah, and all the convertibles were made at the St. Louis plant.
Okay.
Even the 70 convertibles were made at the St. Louis plant.
Okay, and another way to tell is if you ever watched episode 2, I said that the 68 Plymouth and Dodges all had round marker lights, and as you can see on this one, it actually has a rectangular reflector. There's no light behind that. In 1970, they did add a light and reflector, and they added a couple other pieces too to make it a little different, right?
The chrome surround around the marker light.
Okay, so if you ever see one from the side, that's kind of the easiest ways to tell. Brad and I are going to walk around the car, show you some of those other features, and take the old ragtop for a quick spin. So here we are in the back of the car, and it's all 1969. The taillights were a one-year only deal. They're actually kind of recessed into the car. And now the Roadrunner did kind of share a body style with the GTX and the Satellite, and the few differences on that are the taillights on the GTX recess in farther, correct, Brad?
Right, the plastic lens itself is 2 inches recessed into the housing.
Okay.
Approximately 2 inches.
Okay, and then a Satellite will have some like tinning work or, you know, whatever, like trim work right here in the center, where this just has a Roadrunner badge and a Roadrunner decal. And now the Roadrunner decal is something special to 69 as well?
The 69, the decal is in color, and in 68 it's a black and white decal, Roadrunner decal.
Okay. And then the bumper is again a 69 deal with the reverse lights in it as opposed to actually up in the tail lights. So if you see this back end with no trim work in the center, maybe the badge, maybe not the badge, you know it's the Roadrunner, not the Satellite or the GTX, and you know it's a 1969 model. Brad and I are going to walk around the rest of the car and see what else we can find. So we've moved up front, and the 69, 68, they actually do share a couple parts, mostly the bumper and kind of the headlight buckets. There's quad headlights on both 68, 69s. The grille does change. The 68s have a bunch of small little rectangles through it as opposed to the 4 big rectangles kind of stacked on top of each other. So that's one of the dead giveaways. Also, the hood's different in that the louvers on the 69 here are on the top, and on the 68 they're on the side. Speaking of the hood, how about we pop it and check out that 383?
Sounds like a plan.
So we've got the hood popped on the Roadrunner here. It is the 383, which is a big block distributor up front. As you can see right here, here's actually the AC compressor for the car. It is a factory AC 4-speed car, which is kind of one of those rare options for this vehicle. And now when I popped the hood here, I was expecting to see an orange block because that was kind of the 69 thing, but this is the Chrysler Blue. What's up with that?
Well, the air-conditioned engines were the blue color like this up until a certain point in 69, and this car was built on the 5th of January 69, and when I restored the car, it had an orange engine in it, which wasn't originally a numbers matching engine, and I wanted to try to make it factory correct. I was trying to find the date at what point they switched over to the orange engine. The earlier ones were blue, and then the later ones in 69 were orange. And luckily I didn't throw any parts away during the restoration until it was all done, but I found the original engine grounding strap, and it had the turquoise blue on the end of it, so I figured that the original engine was turquoise blue. So that's why I painted it this color. Okay. I guess it was later than January 5th that they changed over to the orange engines with the air conditioning.
Yeah, apparently that cutoff was a little later than that. Well, it's awesome, and it is like a pretty factory restoration as far as like appearance goes, but the thing does sound incredible, so let's fire it up and go for a quick ride. So Brad and I are out for a nice you know, early summer cruise, top down, nice small breeze down here by the Ohio River, and it's not even the Ohio River, is it? The Little Miami.
The Little Miami River.
They don't need to know that. So Brad and I are going for a quick summer cruise with the top down here in southern Ohio. It's a perfect day to have a convertible. This car is super cool. Like I said, episode 2, that was a B-body. This is another B-body. I've actually had a lot of B-bodies on now that I think about it. But these are just super cool cars. I really do love the B-bodies. And as Brad turns the turn signal on, it has the indicator on the front fender that lets you know you're turning. I mean, the car is pretty great and actually feels pretty good as far as like handling goes. Like the suspension still feels pretty firm and there's not a lot of roll to it, so it's pretty fun. And as Brad said, it is a 4-speed, so we're going to shift it into overdrive and learn a little bit more about him. So Brad, what is it about the Mopar brand that kind of drew you in?
Well, I had a buddy of mine had a 68 Fury back in high school. We used to cruise around in that a lot. And I had a Ford Mustang at the time. A 67 Ford Mustang was my first car. But cruising around with him in that old Fury, he comes up to me one day, he goes, "Hey," he says, "my neighbor's selling a 70 Charger. Why don't you sell the Mustang and get that Charger?" So I went and looked at the Charger and I bought the thing. And boy, we had fun with that Charger. Had the same engine and transmission that this thing has in it. And I tell you what, I worked my guardian angel overtime back in those days, because that was a fast car and I was an idiot. So
fair enough. All right, so it kind of runs from back in your youth, right? You kind of fell in love with them from there.
Yeah, well, I went from that, and I sold that, and I bought that Cuda I told you about, the 73 Cuda.
Okay.
We put that 440 out of a police interceptor in the thing, and we beat the tar out of that thing, went to the drag strips and street raced it, and we had a lot of fun with that, and then I bought this thing eventually.
Okay, so. And that brings us to this, which is the next question. What do you love about this car?
Well, obviously the top going down is awesome. You know, I've owned this thing since 1983, and I've had some really good offers to sell it, but you know, like I said to you earlier, you know, I dated my wife in this thing. The kids have been in the back of it in baby seats, and now the boys occasionally drive it. And what I love about the car is the memories in this thing. I've driven this thing coast to coast and border to border, and like I said, dated my wife and the kids. Just so many memories. That's what I love about
it. It's part of the family.
Yeah, it is part of the family. You know, there's obviously a price for it. I mean, somebody could come up and make me a ludicrous offer.
Right.
I don't know what that ludicrous offer would be, but there is a price that I would sell it.
Okay.
But the ones that I've had so far weren't ludicrous, so I did not sell it.
Fair enough. And if you could have one other Mopar, what would it be?
I'd like to have my 71 Cuda back that I sold before. I should have restored that thing.
Right, yeah, the 71 Cuda. That's the kind of the crown jewel of the E-bodies, isn't it? The front end, the whole 9 yards there on those. And then I'm guessing with the convertible, you're more of a top-down, windows-down kind of guy?
Oh, you bet. Like I said, top goes down about April, goes back up in November.
That's awesome. And it's a beautiful car to cruise in. The black paint looks amazing. And it's just, like I said, this is the ultimate cruiser. Big, long wheelbase, wide body, top down. It's awesome. I can see this thing rolling down Route 66 any day, you know?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I sort of like to do sometime. A buddy of mine, he's got a 68 Camaro convertible. Shitty guy, but he took that thing on that Route 66 cruise, and he had a lot of fun doing that, and I think that would be fun. I'd like to do that someday.
Why not? Well, if you want to see still pictures of this car or any car I've ever featured, make sure you check out my Facebook and Instagram page, both under Your Par. If you have questions about this car or want to know more about it, or maybe beyond, go ahead and hit me up in the comment section below here. And as always, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode, or you know, your buddy's episode for that matter. As always, until next time.